Hello, and welcome to Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Ron, and today we're going to do a box opening. Well, I've already opened the box, but we're going to do a discussion about the items that came in a box from Black Site Studios for Lunar. So let's get started. Lunar is a brand new game, only out a couple months now, from Black Site Studios. It was done as part of a new project they're engaged in there to help stimulate not only their own business, but also young, new, independent writers, game writers, called Black Site Backroom, in which they do sort of internal pre-orders on various games to help set them up. The prototype for this was Don't Look Back and how it was presented. The first actual project done this way is the game we're going to be talking about today, and that's Lunar. Now, Lunar is a skirmish game that takes place in a alternative history, in a Cold War gone hot, in a moon where the Russians beat the Americans in the race to the moon. I participated in that pretty fully. I bought their Tier 3, which was all the basic components plus some MDF, and I talked about some of that earlier on a previous video here. But today I've got the last remaining items of the Tier 3 level of support that I was engaged in. Also, I have some add-on vehicles, some lunar rovers or buggies to increase what I have, and also I have an independent contractors group or team for the game. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these products right now and see what we've got. Now, one of the things they do that is clever for the Lunar game is they're packaged very often in these little silver metallic containers, like space food. I love the little details that they do with Black Sites this way, the sort of tongue-in-cheeky things. The Don't Look Back character expansions come in VHS tapes with artwork on the cover as if they're rental horror films. In fact, often they have the little sticker that shows that they're to return them to the horror section when the clerk is putting them away. And these a critical space item in the corner. These are really clever. I've been trying to find other uses for them after I open them. And they still have some use because they're actually Ziplocs, so they're completely resealable. Just as miniatures, I'm not sure what we're going to find in this package. I think based on the fact I just filled some cards, that this is probably my corporate expansions team. There's also, this set's going to be including some of the add-ons for Tier 3 that weren't ready when the rest of my Tier 3 went out. They promised a certain delivery date when they were doing the pre-orders, the actual Black Site project. And in the end, some of the added on items, the things that in a Kickstarter you would call stretch goals, those weren't going to be ready to make it by those dates. So that stuff is all here. These are all things that were additional add-ons as time went by to the original order. These are my freelancers. So we have, the normal 32 millimeter black slope-sided plastic bases. I don't think I need to show you those because, you've seen a million of those in your life. So these are the basic guys, and they're made just like the others. So you have these torsos that are designed to glue onto the legs. The arms will come in that other package I first opened up. Let me grab that. So these are similar to what came in the original box. There's various arms, some of which are just bare, if you want your men to be holding nothing or to be a little variable. These are arms with weapons. So these look like they're pretty much the same as what came in the original kit. They give you a lot of different choices. These are all add-on parts and arms. So quite a lot of choices in here for different things you can do to modify your characters. Now, this is not a what you see is what you get game. They're really trying to promote making interesting looking figures. And so they don't have to be exactly what they're armed with. I tried when I made mine to give them weapons that I was planning on giving them, though having very rarely played the game when I built the figures, I wasn't sure how to do that. But that's just to make it easier to know who's who when I'm playing the game. So these are cards, just like previously with the original starter set, come with the game. These are specifically the freelancer cards. So there's a commander, a tech specialist, a couple of tech specialists, a combat specialist, mission specialist, medical generalist. So it's pretty much the same. as the breakdown for the others. Not really surprised by that. I don't remember my skills well enough to know how this middle management, that's definitely a new skill for the freelance commander. There's a new weapon, which is mining laser. 2 weapons cards in here too. And this little dot thing in the back here, bottom, means that's only usable freelancer faction. I'm glad to see that. They have spaces for the faction specific, but very few things have qualified as faction specific so far. And I think there should be more. That's sort of what was happening in the Cold War. I wish, for instance, that the assault rifles were all done up to be M16s or AK-47s or 74s. One, I think that would have been more indicative of the period and really made the guys look specific to their genre. Not a lot of Cold War countries buying Western things, at least not legally and above the board of the period, and so I would like to have seen a more distinct difference in the items. Freelancers, in fact, would have been the exception to that. It's not, but still, glad to see that they've done some of that. And this may also be coming. Ben mentioned on one of the Twitch, I think it was on a Twitch, that one of the reasons he didn't do things like AK-47s is he wanted to do more non-military looking, basically give it more idea of an ad hoc. We're using whatever we can get our hands on as weapons because we didn't expect to be fighting on the moon. And that those other weapons may come along. Part of why I really want to do it is I really want to have NASA soldiers carrying shiny silver and white M16s like they do for All Mankind. I just think that's such a sharp look. Okay, this one is the one that I don't know for sure what's going to be then. I did know I was going to get that package. I think these are the add-on figures stretch goals from Tier 3 purchase. And I'll be honest, I don't remember what those all were. Yeah, so there's a handful. I don't remember who they all are. As I recall, I have a VIP figure for each of the 4 factions. I think 4, maybe. I'm not seeing that many here, so maybe it's only 3. I don't remember right now who is who. I forgot that there was going to be another buggy. Or when I say buggy, I don't mean like the Land Rover buggies I'm going to be showing you in a moment. I mean, there's some little rovers in the game that are small wheel drone items. And I don't remember what this one does, but this is a new one. And that was one of the add-ons. I do recall that. I just don't remember, again, what it is. There's probably a card that we're going to get in that pouch that'll explain some of this. Okay, this would be the Chinese. I'm basing this by details on their uniforms, on their spacesuits, and how they match the others. I don't have the Chinese faction yet. That was a mistake. I didn't buy the quad rover and I didn't buy the Chinese faction in the pre-order. Moments after the pre-order closed, I realized that was a mistake. So now that they're available, I will be doing that. I'm assuming this is the Russian. I don't know. I don't know what that padded front means. I don't know if that's the Russian and that's armor, but that's going to be my guess. Yeah, there's a knife there. The Russians have those knives. These figures look like they have less option. They have multiple arms, so there's some option there, but I guess you could put normal arms on them. That was probably the corporate. Not sure. It's been a while since I've seen them given by their names, and I'm sure I'm going to know in a moment because one of these things that's sitting here on the table is a Ziploc bag full of cards. In fact, let's open those next because that may answer some of our questions. These are the cards I'm referring to. A separate little body of cards here. Vladimir Mishkin, Lunar Icon, that's the term, not VIPs, they're icons. Lillian Gates. This is Lillian Gates, Lunar Icon. That's obviously the American. This is, that's Zai Yang, who is the Republic of China. Deke Resnick. Deke Resnick is NASA. Stephanie Maluska. And that new buggy is hers, and it's carries explosives. I vaguely remember that now. All right, these are going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to adding these to the game. Though I've only played 2 or 3 games so far, and I haven't played here yet on the channel. I will be doing that soon. I started to film a solo game of it, and I hadn't fully read the rules, so I wasn't really as prepared as I would have liked to have been. But I also found that this does not play well as a solo game, at least without more thought being given how to do the AI aspect. So I stopped that. Some weapon cards here. There's a new revised mass shotgun. And this one really looks like a shotgun. That's usable by any side. There's a shrapnel shotgun, which I suspect, yeah, that's a shotgun that's doing puncture. The damage in the game is either done by impact or by puncture, and very often the impact is more dangerous because it'll shove you off buildings and things. Caltrops, I didn't see that coming. Lunar caltrops, lunar flares, comm jammer. These are pretty cool. These are, I don't think I knew I was getting new cars. Auto dim visor, cannot be blinded. Invasive adrenaline, enhanced cooling suit. These are really intriguing. I'm really looking forward to a lunar buckler. These really look like fun too. I don't think I knew these were coming. I don't recall there being mention of new equipment cards, but they're really interesting. I think they'll add a lot. I don't know how many of them work yet, obviously, but I think they're going to be fun. And I look forward to figuring that out. Let's see, this is probably the new weapons. I have a bunch of little arms and things here. New arms for the weapons that now exist that didn't used to. And some various other assorted equipment. And what fun. Only thing I don't like about this is I wouldn't mind giving some of those weapons to, well, I still can. I guess it's not what you see is what you get. So there's absolutely no reason that I can't just give the guy the card. One problem I do have with the game is that there's not enough cards for some of the items, for the common items. So you may have to like share a card with your opponent. Now that's only if you're playing like I do, where right now at least only one of us has the stuff. So I only have one set of cards. I think the game was actually designed thinking that I'd bring my cards to be used by me and my opponent would have his own cards. It's also not a problem. You don't need a card for the weapon, except the card tells you how to use the weapon. So it's a nice reminder of the rules. So it's more convenient, but it's not an insurmountable issue. Now these are three-dimensional resin tokens to replace your equipment and mining nodes. These are the items that have held up the package. Just a way of making, instead of just using a cardboard token that comes with the game, it'll make the train a little more interesting looking. A lot of flash on some of these, but they're resin tokens. That won't be hard to take out. Most of that will probably come off pretty easily. And it looks like they'll be pretty clean once that is removed. Those will be fun, and they'll definitely make the table look nicer. The table is, well, if you put the tokens on the table, it is a very token-heavy game, and you end up with little colored tokens all over your terrain. Many of the tokens, of course, could just go on your character cards. If you're having them on the table, helps remind you that they're in effect, which is always an advantage. But it also makes for a cluttered table, and it kind of runs contradictory to the look of a good tabletop game, getting in the way of your beautiful scenery. This is the LRV Mark I buggy. This is the NASA buggy. It is clearly based on the lunar rover that we actually sent to the moon. That's the card. There's the crew member, the main chassis. Tires with fenders on them, seats and things like that. There's also floating around in the bag here, there's a radar antenna and a camera. This is the NASA moon buggy. I don't think these are limited necessarily, well, they're obviously intended to be limited, but I don't think there'd be any reason you couldn't reuse these as stolen or captured, reused items. Only one of the buggies is meant to be any side, and that's the one I don't have. It's based on a quad, and I should have just bought it, and I'm going to now. Just like I'm going to get the Chinese. In their alternative history, the Chinese Revolution, Communist Revolution failed. But I would have kind of liked to have had Chinese communists in the moon. I guess I still could. I could do whatever I want, regardless of what their timeline says and what their fluff says. This is the Russian buggy. It is based on ATVs that used to be pretty common. These little six-wheeled ATVs were all the rage in adventure films, and there was even a G.I. Joe toy back in the day. So I think it's perfectly fitting. It's a little more primitive looking, which is probably also fitting. than the NASA one. And so I look forward to that. I think that's pretty much everything I've got here. I hope that you got to see it as best as possible on this video. For those of you who haven't tried the game, it's really a lot of fun. Has an interesting little campaign system as well. It is not a cooperative game. It is definitely an opponent versus opponent game. It's normally viewed as sort of a two-player game, but there's no limit to that. The factions, in fact, you could actually have a NASA faction fighting a NASA faction, or a Soviet cosmonauts against Soviet cosmonauts. You really open up the expansion with the freelancers, who could be real freelancers. They could be a completely mercenary unit, or they may be one of several different corporate organizations that are involved. So there's 4 whole distinct factions, if it bothers you having factions fight themselves. But the idea, they refer to this as being in the rulebook, they call it like Cold War Goes Hot. But the scenario they've laid out really strikes me almost more like the Wild West. You can easily have a rogue NASA group that attacks another NASA and makes it look like it's Soviets or vice versa or something like that. So there's a lot of room for different multiplayer games or multiplayer campaigns. So that's why I'm with the Chinese. That'll give me a whole other side, and we might be able to play some of these multiple games, particularly since right now the only person in my local gaming group in the club who has any of it is me. I'll try to get a video up of the game here in the very near future so you can see the gameplay and learn a little bit how it works if you haven't invested or you haven't seen any of the Black Site Studio videos on it. They did a whole series of training videos that show how the different rules work and how to do the different aspects of the game. And a number of the games they've actually played on Twitch have been turned into YouTube videos and are available on their channel. You can go over there and look at those. I'll try to remember to put a link down below to the Black Site Studios channel if you want to go take a look at some of those. If you have any questions about any of this, go ahead and put those in the comments down below. If you have Lunar or have played Lunar yourself or have any of these items for Lunar and have your own opinions you'd like to share with us, go ahead and put those in the comments down below as well. If you have any ideas for further content you'd like to see us discuss here on Cry Havoc Wargaming, we look at the comment section for that as well. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, I hope you'll hit like. And if you'd like to continue to receive notifications of videos like this one that may help you decide how to spend your money or time in your tabletop wargaming hobby, I hope you'll hit subscribe and ring our notification bell. Until next time, cheers.